made some connections, and we got Mr. Bob Joyce to join us from Gamble Pavilion. Game is 7 o'clock against the Ball State Cardinals. It is UConn women's basketball, and Bob Joyce is the voice of UConn women's basketball, and he joins us now. Mr. Joyce, how you doing?
What's up, Bob?
Gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm doing well, thank you.
God, you sound like you're in the next room.
I love the sound.
You sound like you're right next to us.
Great,
That's
man.
awesome.
Hey, it's technology, baby. It's technology.
We were talking about this during the break. We were thinking at halftime maybe bringing in an octagon, Muhl versus Muhl. Let's go! Tell us about Hannah Muhl, Nika Muhl's sister. You already said this is the Muhl homecoming game for Nika, who is not from this land, and neither is Hannah, both from overseas, but they're playing against each other tonight. How did this game get started? What do you expect between the sisters?
Well, Nika actually wanted this to happen. So at the time, Beth Getz, who used to work here, was the AD at Ball State. She's now at Iowa. But Neil Eskin, Gino, got a hold of Beth to try to put this game together. But the one thing that Nika wanted and basically demanded is this game needed to be played here at Gamble because she wanted her family to get the full understanding of what playing games here at Gamble Pavilion are like. So that's happening. So basically, for the first time ever, these two sisters and their teams will go head-to-head. It's the first time in UConn history that it's ever happened. It should have happened with the Samuelson sisters back in the day when Katie Lou was a freshman and Carly was a sophomore at Stanford. They had a series going, but Tara Vanderveer nixed it. So the Samuelsons wouldn't play against one another, and they almost did in the 18 Final Four, but that didn't play out either. So this is the first. Sisters on different teams playing against one another from a UConn standpoint. And tonight, Nika Muhl's parents will make the trip here. For the first time they ever see their daughters play in America, and one of their cousins who goes to Wofford down south will be here for the game as well. So special night.
So Nika's parents have never been here to see her play?
In the United States, correct. They've never seen her play in the States. Yeah, so they'll see her play tonight, and then they're going to Sunday's game at Mohegan Sun as well.
Wow. So Nika's a little taller than Hannah. 5'11", they've got her on the roster, and Hannah is 5'8", doesn't play as many minutes as Nika. What can that be like for that family to send two girls to American colleges to play basketball, Bob, from Croatia?
Well, I mean, just the European, you see it a whole lot more now in this day and age. I mean, last year, look, you had Dorka Juhas and Lou Lopez Seneschal who made the trips here from Europe to play here in the States. Yeah, it's a tough decision. But there's nothing like it elsewhere in the world, the way college athletics is in this country. And you have a chance not only to get a degree, but you get a chance, depending on where you go, to get a chance to play a very high level of basketball to test your skills. And this is what these two ladies decided to do. Was not an easy choice, obviously, to make. There was a little bit of homesickness for Nika when she first got here, but she got settled in pretty quick, even though she and Gino butted heads for quite a while, and getting used to the way the officiating goes here in the States where, they call a lot more than they do in Europe. But, it's a tough decision, but they become better people for it. And Nika certainly has grown more than anybody could have ever imagined. Matured a lot as a kid into a person, but that's what happens when you go to school. You start as an innocent 18-year-old not knowing what the world's like, and 4 years later, you're a changed person for the better.
I want to remind everybody as well, we're big on toy drives around here. We got one going at Laz Fly Parking up there in Windsor. If you guys want to drop off a toy for us or Laz Fly, it helps the Connecticut Children's Toy Chest. Yeah, got it out. There's also one tonight at Gampo. If you're going to the game, bring an unwrapped toy for the kiddos. That would definitely help out the cause. 7 o'clock with the tip-off, 6:30 with the pregame. Bob Joyce, Debbie Fisk right here on these airwaves bringing you Ball State against UConn. I am nervous as all get out about this, Bob. I've told you this about 5 times now. Now, I know it's not UCLA. I know it's not Texas, but Ball State is 6-1. And they've got an opportunity with a weakened UConn women's basketball team to beat them on their home floor tonight. Give me a little scouting report on Ball State and your level of nervousness of losing this ball game to the Cardinals.
Not nervous one iota, Benjamin. Tennessee Tech, Troy, Chicago State, Northern Iowa. IUPUI and St. Louis are the victories. Notre Dame is the loss. That was at home a couple of weeks ago. I just think UConn's on a little bit of on a mission tonight. I think they're going to take frustrations out on Ball State. Yes, they're going to have to play well. I think the lineup, I don't know what the lineup is, but there is going to be a few changes in the lineup based on what we saw in the fourth quarter on Sunday. And we'll obviously divulge those out later in the pregame show around 5 of 7 or so, if not talking to Gino about it in the pregame show. But I think these young ladies, they're just a different mindset when they play in this building. It's a special place to play. And obviously, the last time they played here, they didn't have AZ, they didn't have Caroline much, and certainly they didn't have Ayanna Patterson in the lineup either. So it's the same group, and we'll see how it plays out. But I don't get the feeling that Ball State's going to contend tonight. But again, if you don't make shots,
right,
things could get interesting.
Talking to Bob Joyce, Debbie Fisk, they will have the call at 7 o'clock. The pregame 6:30 here on 97.9 ESPN. Wanted to ask about Caroline Ducharme. I know Gino was asked about it. He said, "Don't ask me about the timetable. I don't know. I am just sick for this kid." It's got to be tough for Gino. He loves these kids. They're his family. And seeing them injured or an injury like this that just seems to be lingering on. This is kind of the stuff that's probably the worst thing for being a coach.
It is, and as I said on the broadcast at the end of it, in my final segment of the post game on Sunday, say a prayer or two for Caroline. I mean, she's just gone through so much, and it's not the concussion directly; it's all the after effects of all of this, Rob. We obviously fly with the team on the charter. Caroline was all set to play in the Caymans, but we had about a 45-minute stretch of some pretty significant turbulence, and when we got off the plane, she was not in good shape. And obviously the neck was a big issue. The neck muscle spasms were a big issue, and we found out Thanksgiving morning that she wasn't going to play on Friday and probably the weekend, and that's the case. And we had a little more turbulence on the way home. Didn't even make the trip to Texas, and I'm glad she didn't, because when we descended coming home, the first 10 minutes of our descent into Bradley was not fun. But anyhow, it's no longer even a basketball thing for Caroline. It's a quality of life issue. I mean, sunglasses all the time, loud noise. She's always got earplugs in her ears. I mean, this is just a bad thing right now. And, the more you talk to Gino, the more you get the impression that it's going to be a while, if at all, this season that we'll see Caroline the rest of the season. It's pretty much what he's got in front of him right now. So right now, the whole thing for Caroline is just get better. Take care of yourself. They've got great people here to help you through the tough times, and do what they can. But right now, don't even worry about Caroline on the floor. It's off the floor, because it just affects her entire lifestyle. And just say a prayer for her. No bad things. I mean, they've tried everything. She wants to play, but it's just not going to be there this year, and we'll see. I mean, things could change, obviously, but it will be a while before we see 33 back on the court for a UConn player.
And life goes on, and we got to make up that scoring. We got to make up the AZ Fudd scoring, because she's not coming back anytime soon. And Paige Beckers, it felt like in that Texas game, Bob, and you talked to Gino about this, she was trying to do it all herself. And a lot of that isn't her game, where she's trying to take people on 1-on-3. And Gino was talking a lot about that as far as her getting her shots and the flow of the offense. How is that going to work now with just all these different pieces, moving parts, and when you're down by 10, you're down by 5, you're down by more than 2 possessions? How is it that Paige is going to get those shots and get back into the framework of her style of basketball?
Well, I think a lot has to do with other players stepping up and making shots. Well, first of all, number one here, when you lose Caroline and AZ Fudd, you're missing a lot of firepower from the perimeter. Here's a number that I can share with you guys. 25 of the last 26 games dating back to last season, the UConn women have made 10 threes in a game once, and that was opening night here in Hartford against Dayton. When you have AZ out, when you have Caroline out, you're going to get, you would think, 2 or 3 threes made per game from those two. Paige gives you 2 or 3 a game from what she does. If now you need people to step up, because Gino would like to see in a perfect night like 30 shot attempts from long distance. like the guys here. I mean, 5 games this year, the guys have hit double-figure threes, and they've done it in back-to-back games. So we know how their offense flows. Well, when UConn's offense flows, they have those looks, and then you have to have the confidence to shoot the ball. That means Caden Samuels has to do that. That means Ashlyn Shade has to do that.
Freshman.
Even to an extent, Nika Muhl has to do that.
Yep.
And even a little bit more of Ice Brady having to do that. But Ice is a whole different thing. And they've got to be consistent. So if they can all make like 2 or, if they can all make a couple per game, that will certainly pick up the slack. I know you cannot make up for what AZ and Caroline do on the floor, but that's number one. Paige just has to let things work and flow. When Paige was on the bench, when UConn made their run on Sunday, they were moving the ball in and out. They were getting open looks on the perimeter, short perimeter jumpers. Aaliyah had a couple of looks from around the foul line area. By the way, she was terrific, Aaliyah, on Sunday, right from the get-go. She was aggressive. But it's got to be a team thing. Paige is a really good player, but when the other pieces to the puzzle are flowing, that's when Paige is at her best. And right now, as Gino said, Paige really was not very good on Sunday, just trying to do too much. Things have to change with the rest of the pieces of the puzzle for Paige to get going. And if that happens and Paige gets more comfortable, then things might flow a little better for her. Obviously, the last time she played here, she was very efficient, 10 of 15. Maybe we'll see that again tonight. But the good thing about all this, guys, is it's December the 6th. It's not like football where the championship aspirations are gone. They have a lot of time to fix this. They're not panicking here. Yes, they're 4-3. They've lost to teams that are currently ranked 2, 3, and 5. So it's not like they've lost to some jabronis, as you and Rob like to say.
Thank you for using that word. Yes,
yes, you're very welcome. So they have time to figure this out, and they will. Where will it take them? That's a good question. But a lot of the pieces that are gone are veteran pieces, so that means the youth has to step up, and even KK Arnold to an extent, too.
Yeah.
But it's got to be a total team thing with UConn. That's the way it's always been, and, it's not like they have Diana or Maya or Stewie to bail them out. They don't. They've got a 5'11 guard who's a junior playing in their 8th game tonight back from the injury in Paige Beckers, and obviously she's going to get better with each and every game she plays.
So, Bob, real quick, I know you and Debbie are going to go over this at 6:30 in the pregame. Are they big, Ball State? Are they fast? I mean, what are we going to be looking at tonight, and how do we beat them?
Not a lot of size, Rob. They don't do well on the boards. They average 29 rebounds per game. They're minus about 5.5 in that department. They do turn teams over. Sunday, they beat St. Louis. Between the two teams, there were 52 turnovers. Ball State forced 30 of them, converted into 36 points. They had as many points off turnovers. Get this. They had as many points off turnovers Sunday than they did points in the paint. 36 points in the paint, 36 points on turnovers. Now, obviously, Texas really, really made UConn pay for their mistakes, but that's what Texas does. This is not Texas. Ball State, they've got to make some perimeter shots. They've got 1 or 2 kids that are real consistent from long distance. They've got their starters averaging anywhere from 8 to 10 points a game. So, as long as UConn takes care of their business, they should be able to get turnovers. They should be able to get transition going. I don't see this being much of a game, but then again, that's why you play the games, right?
6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip-off. Bob Joyce, Debbie Fisk right here on these Rob Dibble Show radio stations. UConn versus Ball State in women's basketball. Bob Joyce was trying to get his beauty sleep last night. Wasn't expecting to watch North Carolina versus UConn, but then you fell into it and you fell in love with it. What was your favorite part of last night's win for the men?
Just the toughness that they had to overcome when North Carolina started to bully them a little bit. And Dan Hurley called a very timely timeout, or there was a media timeout that was very timely.
Right.
And I just got the impression that Dan really tried to settle the guys down. And, they're good for a reason. And they made shots in the second half. It's amazing what happens when you see the ball go through the hoop. I mean, like I said earlier, back-to-back games now, they've made double-digit threes. They've got the weaponry. It was great to see Alex Caravan get going in the second half after Cam Stewart had a monster first half, but they were the epitome of team basketball last night. What they have, 25 assists?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the women have done in their heyday. Dan gets that team system of basketball, and he's got some studs. Tristan Newton is stepping up big time. We know what Caravan's doing. Spencer. We know Klingon's hurt a little bit, but the way they answered the bell last night, just to answer what North Carolina was trying to pull, they handled the press well. I think the starters, the most impressive number was it 72 points and 3 turnovers from the starters? the whole game.
Wow.
That's incredible
Yeah,
against North Carolina.
Yep.
And that's how North Carolina got back into the game against Florida State using their pressure. There was one bad turnover by Diarra, but other than that, the guys handled it extremely well. And you know what the Garden is like for the guys. And they passed a nice test after losing a really good game to Kansas. No shame in losing to the Jayhawks. But next Friday night out in Seattle, it's going to be another fun one against Gonzaga.
Bob, give our best to Debbie Fisk. You guys have a great call
And the
tonight.
Mules.
We'll be listening in. God bless the Mules and their whole family, and welcome to Connecticut. So thank you so much, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, Dibs. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Thanks.
All right. They're a long way from Croatia.
That's so cool,
Hopefully
man.
they
That's
enjoy
so cool.
Bradley International Airport.
Oh, they'll love it. They'll love our nutmeg and who else we got?
Constitution State.
And pizza. We always get the pizza.
Go to New Haven. Get some pizza. Is that it? Get some bagels.
That's it. That's all we got.
All right, Dibbles and Bits is next. We'll be right back.